The firm of Sterling & Sterling, nestled amidst the gleaming steel and glass canyons of the city, often felt more like a meticulously maintained, hushed museum than a thriving corporate law office. Its marble floors, perpetually polished to a mirror sheen, reflected the cold, precise light of the recessed fixtures, with a reverence that bordered on the austere. The air, thick with the subtle, expensive scent of lemon polish, the faint, acrid tang of stale coffee, and the ever-present, unspoken tension of relentless, high-stakes competition, hummed with a low, constant thrum of latent power. Within this polished, intimidating world, Anya Sharma existed in quiet, almost deliberate obscurity. Her cubicle, one of hundreds arranged in an anodyne grid, offered little personal flair, a testament to her unassuming nature. The monotonous, rhythmic click of her keyboard was a constant, almost hypnotic soundtrack to her days, punctuated only by the crisp rustle of high-quality legal paper and the distant, carefully modulated murmurs of crucial, firm-defining negotiations. Anya spent her waking hours, and often a significant portion of her nights, immersed in the labyrinthine complexities of corporate legal documents. This wasn't merely a job, it was a deeply ingrained compulsion, a task she approached not just with an expected level of efficiency, but with an almost artistic precision. She possessed an uncanny, almost preternatural ability to notice the subtle nuances that escaped even the most seasoned eyes. A misplaced comma in a crucial clause, a date subtly altered in a subsidiary agreement, a faint, almost invisible digital watermark embedded deep within a convoluted contract that hinted at unauthorized access. Others, even the most veteran senior partners with decades of experience, would scan and dismiss such minutiae. Anya would pinpoint them with unerring accuracy. She organized her sprawling files with a methodical grace, each binder, each tab, each page meticulously placed precisely where it belonged. A silent, almost defiant rebellion against the inherent chaos and sprawling disarray that often characterized the legal world. While her colleagues often congregated in loud, boisterous groups, devouring elaborate catered lunches in the executive dining room, their laughter echoing off the expensive art, Anya typically chose solitude. She'd carry her modest meal, usually a plain sandwich and a thermos of herbal tea, to a quiet window on the 27th floor. From there, she would observe the frenetic, ant-like dance of pedestrians and the ceaseless flow of traffic far below, a vibrant, unpredictable world of raw, untamed life, unfolding in stark contrast to the rigid, utterly predictable, and intensely competitive environment of Sterling & Sterling. Her interactions with most colleagues were polite, almost deferential to the point of invisibility, often met with a fleeting nod or a distracted, dismissive glance. She was, to them, merely the quiet engine in the background, essential yet largely unseen, a testament to her unassuming demeanor. The firm valued volume and aggression. Anya delivered quiet, meticulous excellence, a quality often overlooked in the pursuit of more visible, boisterous victories. Her silence, a shield, often led others to misinterpret her quietude as meekness, a severe misjudgment that would, in due course, spectacularly unravel. One particularly frenetic, stress-laden afternoon, the sterile quiet of the office was abruptly pierced by a muffled yelp, quickly followed by the distinct, sickening thud of something heavy hitting the unyielding marble. Anya, returning from her solitary lunch, her mind still replaying the intricate patterns of city life below, paused. Her enhanced senses, a relic of a life she no longer claimed, immediately registered the subtle disturbance. She noticed a junior paralegal, barely out of law school, and visibly overwhelmed by the relentless demands of the firm, teetering precariously under an armful of heavy, precariously stacked legal binders. The young woman's face was flushed crimson with embarrassment and exertion, her hands trembling violently, clearly on the very precipice of dropping the entire monumental load onto the pristine, unforgiving marble floor. Several senior associates, their faces set in expressions of intense focus, strode purposefully past, their gazes fixed straight ahead, absorbed in their own self-important worlds, seemingly oblivious or simply uncaring about the paralegal's imminent collapse. Their indifference was a harsh reflection of the firm's ruthless internal culture. Without a word, without a moment's hesitation, Anya moved. It was a swift, almost imperceptible movement, honed by years of quick, decisive action in situations where seconds meant the difference between success and catastrophic failure. She stepped forward, her hand reaching out just as the stack of binders began to list dangerously to one side. Gently, but with a surprising, understated strength that belied her slender frame, she steadied the precarious load, her fingers brushing against the younger woman's clammy, trembling ones. With an encouraging, almost imperceptible nod, Anya, without breaking stride, smoothly took half the load, her grip firm and confident. She then subtly guided the flustered paralegal, whose eyes were wide with a mixture of panic and gratitude, towards a free, unoccupied desk, patiently waiting as the relieved young woman deposited the binders with a shaky sigh of profound relief. Anya offered a small, kind smile, her eyes, usually guarded and intensely private, softening with genuine, unfeigned empathy. "We all start somewhere," she murmured, her voice a soft, reassuring balm that cut through the oppressive tension of the office. "Take your time. No one expects perfection on day one. Just breathe." The paralegal, her eyes still wide with surprise and gratitude, managed a choked, almost inaudible, "Thank you, Ms. Sharma. I don't know what I would have done." Anya simply nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of the shared human experience, a gesture that spoke volumes without a single extra word, and then smoothly, silently, resumed her path back to her cubicle, leaving the paralegal staring after her, a silent testament to Anya's intrinsic kindness and profound empathy. It was a small act, performed without seeking recognition or praise, without any grand gestures, but it was a clear, undeniable demonstration of her quiet dignity, her inherent compassion, and her deep-seated moral compass, immediately endearing her to the reader and providing a compelling reason to root for her against the impersonal, unforgiving backdrop of the corporate world. It was her save the cat moment, a simple act that spoke volumes about her true character. Beneath Anya's unassuming corporate facade, beneath the layers of meticulous legal briefs and quiet efficiency, lay a past as intricate, as dangerous, and as clandestinely guarded as the most complex, top-secret legal brief imaginable. Her colleagues at Sterling & Sterling, caught in their own ambitious currents, their gazes fixed on the next promotion or the next lucrative case, dismissed her occasional quirks as mere eccentricities. They'd sometimes notice her doodling complex, almost architectural schematics during long, tedious meetings, intricate webs of precise lines, overlapping angles, and abstract symbols that bore little resemblance to conventional flowcharts or legal diagrams. "Just her way of staying focused, I suppose," a senior partner once remarked dismissively, waving a hand dismissively as he glanced at her notebook, utterly oblivious to the profound truth. In reality, these weren't idle sketches, but fragments of advanced spatial reasoning, tactical planning, and encrypted communication protocols deeply embedded in her muscle memory and subconscious from a former life. Each line, each curve, was a whisper of a forgotten language, a blueprint for operations far beyond the scope of corporate law. More telling, perhaps, was the subtle, almost imperceptible flicker of recognition that would momentarily cross Anya's usually placid face when an obscure legal term from the esoteric realms of international espionage or covert intelligence operations was briefly mentioned during a case review. A fleeting tightening around her guarded eyes, a momentary stillness in her posture, a barely discernible tension in her jawline, quickly masked by a practiced neutrality, but undeniably present for those who possessed the keen insight to truly look. Once, during a particularly dry, convoluted presentation on cutting-edge digital forensics, a newly hired junior associate, attempting to impress, casually referenced a zero-day exploit used in a high-profile cyber attack in Eastern Europe. Anya's gaze, usually placid and detached, sharpened instantly, her fingers unconsciously tapping a complex, almost military-grade rhythm against her thigh, a specific, highly precise sequence of numbers that hinted at deep, personal, operational knowledge of such attacks. She occasionally carried a worn, unmarked compass in her bag, its brass casing dulled and smoothed by countless journeys across continents and through shadow operations. She'd sometimes glance at it during moments of quiet contemplation, her thumb brushing over its cool, smooth surface, as if seeking direction beyond the literal confines of her office, a silent yearning for a world where true north held a different meaning. These were not mere oddities. dismissed as the harmless quirks of a quiet lawyer. These were subtle hints, persistent echoes, of Anya's highly specialized, top-secret background as a legendary undercover agent from a shadowy, elite government intelligence agency, a unit so clandestine that its very existence was a whispered myth. She was a master of disguise, a phantom in the field, renowned for her ability to integrate, observe, and neutralize threats with surgical precision and chilling efficiency. Years ago, Anya had deliberately walked away from that life, trading the adrenaline-fueled uncertainty and the constant danger of covert operations for the predictable rhythm and anonymity of corporate law. She craved a quiet existence, a space where she could disappear, heal, and find a semblance of normal life. But the ingrained habits, the honed instincts, the very essence of her former identity as Phoenix, the legendary agent, remained dormant, just beneath the surface of her unassuming exterior, a coiled spring waiting for the precise moment to release its immense, suppressed power. These carefully suppressed details, dismissed as trivial by her oblivious colleagues, created a compelling sense of mystery, laying the groundwork for her astonishing, world-shattering revelation later. The quiet lawyer, unseen and undervalued, harbored secrets and possessed skills that would soon not only shatter the carefully constructed reality of a ruthless legal adversary, but would also redefine the very meaning of justice, proving that true power often lies in the most unexpected and underestimated places. Her chosen anonymity was about to become her greatest weapon. The sterile air of Sterling and Sterling, usually a comforting cocoon of predictable routines and mundane tasks for Anya, suddenly crackled with an unsettling, almost electric energy. The summons had been abrupt, pulling her without warning from the meticulously organized background work that had been her carefully constructed sanctuary for years. It came in the form of a curt, impersonal email, followed swiftly by a more insistent phone call from Mr. Harrison Vance, a senior partner at the firm. Vance was a formidable figure, a man carved from the unyielding granite of old-school legal prowess. His immaculately tailored suits seemed to hum with an unspoken authority, and his sharp, discerning intellect commanded a rigid, unquestioning respect from all who worked under him. He had always, with a subtle but consistent disdain, dismissed Anya's quiet efficiency as a glaring lack of ambition, seeing her meticulousness not as a virtue, but as a sign of timidity, a hesitation to truly seize the aggressive, confrontational spirit he believed defined a successful lawyer. He valued overt aggression in the courtroom, the kind that delivered loud, undeniable victories, a stark, almost visceral contrast to Anya's understated, almost invisible approach. Without preamble, Vance delivered the news, his voice clipped and precise. He was assigning her, almost as a punitive measure for her perceived unassertiveness and her persistent refusal to engage in the firm's internecine power struggles, to a case that sent a jolt of ice through Anya's veins and stirred dormant anxieties she had long suppressed. It was a seemingly impossible, high-profile corporate espionage case bearing the ominous title, Sterling and Sterling versus Veritas Tech. This was the kind of legal battle that dominated national headlines for months, making or breaking careers, determining the very trajectory of entire industries. Veritas Tech, the behemoth opposing client, was a powerful, ruthlessly efficient tech conglomerate, notorious for its aggressive acquisition strategies and its willingness to bend, if not outright break, ethical boundaries. They stood accused of stealing invaluable intellectual property from Sterling and Sterling's long-standing client, a struggling biotech startup whose groundbreaking medical research into rare diseases was not merely its core asset, but its only lifeline, its sole chance at survival. The opposing counsel in this high-stakes showdown was a name that evoked shudders in legal circles, a name whispered with a mix of awe and dread: Julian Croft. Croft was not merely a lawyer, he was a notorious, exceptionally arrogant, and ruthlessly effective super lawyer, a legal demigod known for his theatrical courtroom tactics, his chilling mastery of psychological manipulation, and his public habit of systematically humiliating his opponents with a sadistic glee. Vance had given Anya this case not because he believed in her, not because he saw her hidden potential, but because he was desperately short-staffed and saw an opportune moment to make a decisive example of her quiet demeanor, her perceived lack of fire. He secretly, malevolently hoped she would fail spectacularly, perhaps even quit the firm in disgrace, thereby clearing a path for more ambitious associates who eagerly embraced the firm's brutal, cutthroat ethos. The unexpected assignment was deeply unsettling, pulling Anya into the blinding, unforgiving spotlight she had meticulously avoided for years, threatening to shatter the carefully constructed anonymity and peaceful civilian life she had cultivated with such painstaking effort. Anya's immediate reaction to Vance's pronouncement was a complex, almost paradoxical cocktail of professional dread and a fleeting, almost forgotten, dangerous exhilaration. The Veritas Tech case was far, far beyond her current remit, demanding a unique set of skills she hadn't actively used in years. Skills honed not in the hallowed halls of law school, but in the shadowy, unforgiving world of covert operations and high-stakes intelligence gathering. Her fear was visceral, a cold, clenching sensation in her gut, the terrifying risk of public failure, the soul-crushing humiliation that Julian Croft excelled at inflicting, and, most terrifyingly, the potential exposure of her carefully constructed civilian life, the facade of normalcy she had painstakingly built. The thought of her past bleeding into her present, of the quiet veneer crumbling to reveal the dangerous truth beneath, sent a fresh shiver down her spine. The meticulously maintained barrier between her two lives, the before and the after, was suddenly under immense threat. Yet, despite this profound fear, she found herself torn, almost violently, between her ingrained desire for anonymity, the safe predictability of her corporate existence, and a deep, almost primal sense of justice that resonated within her very core. The struggling biotech startup, with its humble, idealistic founders and their audacious, life-saving research, reminded her acutely of the very principles she had once fought for in her former life. Protecting vulnerable, groundbreaking innovation from ruthless, parasitic entities driven by nothing but unbridled greed. The sheer, audacious injustice of Croft's tactics, his blatant manipulation of facts and perception, and Veritas Tech's corporate greed for ill-gotten intellectual property ignited a dormant fire within her, a long-suppressed resolve that had been buried under years of legal briefs, monotonous routines, and self-imposed emotional detachment. This seemingly impossible task, despite her fear, sparked a quiet but unyielding determination to take on Croft, not just for the sake of the case or the client, but for herself. She wouldn't just defend, she would dismantle. She would not just seek justice, she would embody it. The familiar pull of duty, of righting a profound wrong, was becoming too strong to ignore. During her initial meticulous review of the sprawling, mountain-like pile of case files, a task that demanded days of intense, solitary focus, fueled by countless cups of lukewarm coffee and an almost meditative concentration, Anya discovered a subtle, almost imperceptible inconsistency in the seemingly airtight digital evidence presented by Veritas Tech. It was a minute detail, a seemingly insignificant anomaly that only someone with her highly specialized background in covert data analysis and digital forensics would spot. Deep within the metadata of a key document, buried beneath layers of standard code, was a series of seemingly random characters. To anyone else, it would appear as a meaningless string of code, a digital glitch, an inconsequential artifact of data transfer. To Anya, however, it was more than just characters. It was a signature, a digital doodle that strikingly resembled a pattern she had once encountered in a highly classified, deep web counterintelligence operation, an operation that had involved state-sponsored intellectual property theft on an international scale, executed with chilling precision. This pattern she instantly recognized was a unique, almost artistic, digital fingerprint left by a specific notorious cyber espionage cell that had been thought long dormant. This tiny, almost invisible anomaly resonated with a chilling familiarity, confirming her gravest suspicion. Croft's client wasn't just ruthlessly aggressive. They were engaged in highly sophisticated, illegal data acquisition, employing methods that echoed the shadowy, dangerous world she had so deliberately left behind. The data, she now understood with crystalline clarity, had been extracted using a highly advanced proprietary algorithm that mimicked organic thought patterns to bypass even the most robust firewalls, a signature technique of the very cyber espionage cell she had once tracked. This discovery solidified her resolve. hardening her quiet determination into steely, unshakable conviction. She realized with absolute certainty that she could not simply pass the case off to another attorney, or meekly accept a quiet, face-saving settlement. Her unique skills, forged in the crucible of clandestine operations and honed to an almost preternatural sharpness, were not just useful. They were absolutely essential to uncover the full, ugly truth and systematically dismantle Croft's deceptive legal facade, to expose not just a corporate crime, but a sophisticated, almost artistic act of digital larceny that threatened to set a dangerous precedent. This was the point of no return. Anya had consciously, deliberately committed to accepting the case, trusting her instincts over the logical, overwhelming desire for continued anonymity. She embraced the terrifying, yet exhilarating prospect of returning, however briefly, to a life of calculated risks, leaving her safe, predictable corporate routine behind, for good. She knew, with a certainty that resonated deep in her bones, that by stepping into this high-stakes arena, she wasn't just taking on a legal battle. She was stepping back into the shadows, gambling with her carefully constructed anonymity, potentially exposing her true identity and the highly classified secrets of her past. But the cost of inaction, the thought of this profound injustice prevailing and setting a dangerous precedent, was far, far greater than any personal risk. Justice, uncompromised and absolute, was a driving force she could no longer suppress. The quiet lawyer, once content with her carefully cultivated obscurity, was now ready to unleash a carefully cultivated, hidden arsenal of intellect, instinct, and experience, transforming the sterile courtroom into her own intricate battlefield for truth. The game had changed, and Anya Sharma was ready to play. The initial pre-trial conference was not merely a legal formality. It was a carefully staged crucible of barely concealed hostility and sharp psychological legal maneuvering. Anya stepped into the sterile, high-ceilinged conference room, the air thick with tension, a palpable weight that pressed down on her, a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of her cubicle. Across the polished mahogany table, gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights, sat Julian Croft, radiating an aura of absolute, almost theatrical confidence. His tailored suit seemed to hum with self-satisfaction, his expensive watch catching the light, his imposing presence filling the room as he leaned back, an unreadable smirk playing on his lips. He delivered his opening statement with the practiced ease of a seasoned performer, his voice a smooth, resonant baritone that filled every corner of the room. He dismissed Sterling and Sterling's case as frivolous, a desperate, last-ditch attempt by a failing startup to leverage the deep pockets of an industry leader. He rattled off a litany of highly complex, obscure legal jargon, dense Latin phrases, and intricate procedural precedents, clearly attempting to intimidate Anya and overwhelm the junior judge overseeing the conference, Judge Alistair Vance. Judge Vance, a formidable woman with an unyielding gaze and a reputation for strict adherence to protocol, maintained a stoic, almost inscrutable poker face, but Anya, with her finely tuned instincts, sensed her initial skepticism, a quiet challenge in the air that seemed to favor the more established, flamboyant Croft. The entire presentation was a masterclass in legal intimidation, designed to crush any hope of a fair hearing before it even began. Anya, initially quiet, listened with an almost unnerving stillness, her posture composed, her gaze unwavering as she absorbed every detail. She observed Croft's every calculated gesture, every subtle inflection in his perfectly modulated voice, processing not just his words, but the insidious, manipulative intent behind them. Her mind, an intricate web of analytical capabilities, began to dissect his argument even as he spoke, identifying the hidden cracks in his seemingly impenetrable facade. When it was her turn to respond, the room seemed to hold its breath. She didn't raise her voice. There were no theatrics, no grand pronouncements designed for a public audience, no bombast. Instead, with a serene composure that seemed to visibly infuriate Croft, whose subtle micro-expressions betrayed his annoyance, she began to dissect his entire argument. Not with bluster, but with devastating surgical precision, like a master surgeon isolating a cancerous cell. She calmly cited an obscure legal precedent, an almost forgotten footnote in corporate law from a landmark case decided decades ago, the specifics of which only a handful of legal scholars even remembered. The case, Drexel vs. Omnicorp from 2008, clearly defined the parameters of fair use in proprietary data transfer, particularly concerning encrypted real-time algorithmic processes. While Mr. Croft eloquently paints a picture of corporate altruism, Anya stated, her voice quiet but carrying surprising weight, each word delivered with unwavering clarity. He conveniently overlooks the Drexel vs. Omnicorp ruling. That precedent explicitly states that the acquisition of proprietary algorithms, even if temporarily unencrypted due to a systemic vulnerability, a vulnerability which, I might add, appears to be artificially induced, constitutes theft, regardless of the ultimate intent or subsequent claims of independent development. Her words, delivered with a quiet authority, exposed a subtle logical fallacy deep within his seemingly airtight reasoning, a chink in his meticulously constructed armor. Her questions, when they came, were deceptively simple, yet piercingly accurate, cutting through the legal jargon like a laser. "Mr. Croft," she began, her gaze steady, "on Exhibit B, page 17, the metadata for Project Chimera, your client's supposedly independently developed software, indicates a timestamp of 03.17 UTC on the day of the alleged system malfunction, nearly 2 hours before your client claims independent development began. Can you explain this discrepancy?" She then leaned forward slightly, her finger indicating a barely noticeable digital watermark on a supposedly original document presented by Croft, projected onto the screen beside him. It was a minute detail, a faint, almost invisible imprint, like a ghostly fingerprint, a unique digital signature that indicated unauthorized access and manipulation, a detail only someone with her specific counterintelligence training in advanced digital forensics and pattern recognition would have spotted. This wasn't a grandstanding display. She was merely defending her client's very fragile claims against a calculated malicious assault, forced by necessity to reveal a mere fraction of her extraordinary analytical capabilities. Croft's smug expression, which had been plastered on his face since the conference began, momentarily faltered. A flicker of annoyance, then thinly veiled contempt, replaced it. He stammered a vague, unconvincing response about server sync errors and minor technical glitches, his usual smooth delivery now marred by a noticeable tremor. But the seed of doubt had been planted, not just in the judge's mind, but, crucially, in his own. Only Julian Croft and the junior judge Alistair Vance initially witnessed the full, unnerving extent of Anya's unexpected legal prowess. Croft, visibly rattled but fiercely refusing to show any public weakness, quickly dismissed her intervention as mere luck or pedantry. He sneered, his voice dripping with venom. "A fine display of minutiae, Ms. Sharma, but hardly the substance of a winning case. We are discussing corporate titans, not academic footnotes." His words were heavy with condescension, a blatant attempt to reassert his dominance and belittle her. But the lingering flicker of annoyance in his eyes, the almost imperceptible twitch in his jaw, betrayed his true feelings. He recognized her quiet precision as a potentially devastating threat, an unknown variable in his carefully controlled universe. Judge Alistair Vance, initially formal and aloof, her expression a careful mask of impartiality, observed Anya with a renewed, albeit subtle interest. Her inscrutable gaze remained, but a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of her head, a lingering analytical gaze that followed Anya's every calm movement, indicated that she was indeed paying attention. She recognized the undeniable precision in Anya's arguments, a stark contrast to Croft's bombast. This was a lawyer who didn't just understand the law, she understood its intricate hidden mechanisms, its deeper, often overlooked logical structures. The slight furrow in her brow suggested a dawning realization that this unassuming lawyer might hold a key to something far more profound. Unbeknownst to them, another, far more observant individual was also witnessing the subtle dynamics of the conference, her instincts already tingling with the scent of a deeper story. Clara Hayes, an influential legal blogger and former investigative journalist renowned for her ability to unearth hidden truths and expose systemic injustices, sat quietly in the back row, her pen scratching furiously in a worn, leather-bound notebook. She had arrived hoping to find fodder for her next expose on corporate malfeasance and the often corrupt underbelly of high-stakes legal battles. She immediately noticed Anya's unassuming intelligence, the stark contrast between her quiet, precise demeanor and Croft's theatrical, almost bullying bluster. She saw the minute flicker of doubt in Croft's eyes, the almost imperceptible shift in Judge Vance's posture, and the subtle, yet undeniable weight of Anya's words. Clara sensed, with the honed intuition of a seasoned journalist, that there was infinitely more to this unassuming lawyer than met the eye. She began taking meticulous notes, observing not just the legal arguments, but Anya's subtle mannerisms, the almost imperceptible way her gaze sharpened when certain obscure legal or technical terms were used, the precise, almost mathematical way her fingers tapped a complex rhythm on the table when a digital anomaly or a security loophole was discussed. Clara, with her instincts honed by years of sniffing out hidden truths and exposing concealed narratives, felt a growing intuitive curiosity that verged on obsession. She knew, with a journalist's unerring certainty, that she was witnessing something significant, something that transcended the dry legal arguments, a story far deeper and more complex than anyone in that room, save perhaps Anya herself, could possibly imagine. She resolved to dig deeper, to uncover the hidden layers of this quiet lawyer's life. Julian Croft, incandescent with a cold, simmering rage and a dawning, unwelcome tremor of professional fear, could not let Anya's unexpected sharpness go unpunished. His initial dismissal of her as a quiet mouse, an insignificant distraction, morphed into a far more insidious form of malice. This was no longer just about winning a case. It was about asserting dominance, crushing a perceived threat, and eradicating any challenge to his carefully cultivated image of invincibility. His malice was fueled by professional jealousy, a deep-seated insecurity, and a profound fear of being outmaneuvered by an unknown, especially one who operated outside his familiar playbook of bombast and intimidation. This unassuming woman, who had just dissected his argument with quiet precision, was a dangerous variable, an unpredictable anomaly in his meticulously controlled legal universe. He immediately dispatched his most ruthless and cunning private investigator, Marcus Kane, a shadowy figure known throughout the city's underbelly for digging up dirt, employing ethically questionable tactics, and possessing an unparalleled talent for digital surveillance and social engineering. Croft's instructions were cold, precise, and utterly devoid of ethical qualms. "You are to conduct a full, invasive background check on Anya Sharma, Kane. Leave no stone unturned. Not just her legal career. I want her entire life. Her family history, her education, every past employer, every personal connection, every whisper, every corner, every shadow. Find anything, any indiscretion, any vulnerability, any secret, however small, that can be leveraged to discredit or intimidate her. I want anything that can be used to humiliate her in open court, to destroy her credibility." "This quiet mouse," Croft hissed, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper, "is more dangerous than she appears. Dig until you find what makes her tick, or more importantly, what makes her break." He would tolerate no loose ends, no unpredictable variables. Kane, a man with cold, unblinking eyes that seemed to absorb light and a chilling reputation for unparalleled invasiveness, simply nodded, a predatory gleam in his gaze. He understood the unspoken threat. Failure was not an option. Croft then leaned closer to his junior associate, a nervous young lawyer named David who barely met his gaze, his voice a low, insidious whisper that barely carried beyond their immediate circle. "David," he commanded, "I want you to prepare a comprehensive, utterly exhaustive list of every single client Ms. Sharma has ever worked with. Every legal challenge she's faced, every single case she's been involved in, no matter how minor. And," he added, a cruel smile touching his lips, "I want you to start leaking carefully crafted anonymous tips to select legal blogs and tabloid journalists. We'll paint her as incompetent, a fluke, someone who got lucky. We will control the narrative before she even steps foot in that courtroom again. We will ensure her reputation is in tatters before the real battle even begins." This calculated, morally bankrupt move cemented Croft's villainous nature, revealing his willingness to engage in unethical practices, to smear an opponent, to win at any cost, regardless of the truth or the damage inflicted. It set the stage for a dramatic, deeply personal escalation in their conflict, transforming it into a battle not just of legal minds, but of quiet, unyielding integrity against ruthless, deceitful ambition. The shadows were beginning to stir, and Anya, though unaware of the full extent of the clandestine war being waged against her, was about to be pulled into a fight far grander than any courtroom drama. The grand, historic main courtroom of the city's Supreme Court, a structure steeped in centuries of legal tradition and solemn gravitas, now thrummed with a palpable, almost predatory tension. Its towering, fluted columns, carved from dark, unyielding wood, seemed to loom, casting long, dramatic shadows across the hushed benches, which were already filling with a carefully curated audience. This was no ordinary legal proceeding. It was the highly anticipated trial of the century for corporate espionage, a legal spectacle meticulously crafted by Julian Croft, not merely to win a case, but to showcase his unassailable dominance and to publicly dismantle his opposition. The ornate setting, with its polished mahogany, hushed reverence, and the omnipresent scent of old paper and ambition, became a symbolic arena, a coliseum of intellect where Anya Sharma would not only defend her struggling biotech client's stolen intellectual property, but would also directly challenge Croft's deceptive claims and expose his fraudulent tactics. Croft, leveraging his immense reputation, his network of powerful allies, and his significant financial influence, had packed the courtroom with his loyal media allies, eager to capture every dramatic twist, and a phalanx of legal experts, all contributing to an intimidating atmosphere that highlighted Anya's seemingly vulnerable, isolated position as the underdog. The entire event was being live-streamed to news outlets across the globe, the constant whir of unseen cameras adding another layer of intense, blinding pressure to an already suffocating environment. Every word, every gesture was being broadcast to millions, amplifying the stakes to an almost unbearable degree. In the decisive, climactic moment of the trial, during the cross-examination of a key witness, a slick, meticulously coached executive from Veritas Tech, Anya was initially a solitary, almost isolated figure on the battlefield. While Clara Hayes, her helper, a former investigative journalist turned dedicated legal blogger, was present, a quiet but fiercely supportive presence in the bustling press gallery, diligently taking notes and armed with her own meticulously gathered evidence. The emotional and intellectual battle of revealing Croft's fraud and demonstrating her hidden tactical brilliance rested solely on Anya. She stood alone in the vast, imposing courtroom, a stark silhouette against the backdrop of an intimidating legal machine, her posture betraying nothing of the immense, crushing pressure she faced. She had to rely entirely on her raw intuition, her unparalleled analytical skills honed in a life far removed from corporate law, and her unwavering conviction in her client's fundamental innocence. The formal, traditional courtroom, with Judge Alistair Vance's inscrutable expression betraying no favoritism, a mask of impartiality that offered neither comfort nor indication of success, provided no solace. Julian Croft's constant, critical, condescending gaze was a physical weight, pressing down on her, designed to unsettle and undermine. Even the prosecutor, a traditional conservative lawyer bound by procedure and a more conventional approach, offered only nominal procedural support, leaving Anya effectively isolated to confront Croft's theatrical and manipulative cross-examination tactics head-on. She was, in essence, a lone soldier walking into a meticulously laid ambush, armed only with her wits, her secret history, and a burning sense of justice that refused to be extinguished. Every eye in the courtroom, every camera lens was fixed upon her, waiting to see if she would break under the immense pressure. Julian Croft, a maestro of courtroom theatrics, had just completed a devastating cross-examination of Anya's key expert witness, Dr. Aris Thorne, the brilliant but shy founder of the biotech startup, whose nervous demeanor had been expertly exploited by Croft. With a voice that swelled and fell in perfectly modulated cadences, Croft had systematically discredited Thorne's testimony, twisting his scientific jargon into admissions of incompetence and financial desperation. He had presented seemingly irrefutable, yet subtly manipulated, evidence of Veritas Tech's independent research, drowning the court in a deluge of doctored reports and falsified timelines. He concluded with a polished, self-aggrandizing summary of his unassailable case, his gaze sweeping over the rapt audience before landing on Anya, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. "And so, Your Honor," he drawled, his voice dripping with triumphant condescension, We see before us not a case of corporate espionage, but merely a tragic, yet common instance of a struggling entity attempting to leverage a baseless claim against a visionary industry leader. This, I dare say, is amateur hour. His words hung in the air, a final public humiliation for Anya's client, and a clear challenge to Anya herself. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Dame Alistair Vance, a severe, discerning public servant known for her unyielding integrity and sharp intellect, and, unbeknownst to Croft, a distant relative of Anya's, with a razor-sharp mind and an uncanny ability to spot deceit, was about to call for a recess. This break would not only provide Croft an opportunity to bask in his perceived victory, but would also further cement his perceived authority, legally sealing the biotech startup's fate, likely leading to their immediate bankruptcy and the complete loss of their invaluable intellectual property. Anya had a narrow, self-imposed window, mere minutes, perhaps seconds, to begin her alternative, revolutionary cross-examination, an approach designed not just to win the case, but to expose Croft's deep-seated fraud and unethical dealings, redefining legal strategy and courtroom ethics forever. The tension was amplified by the presence of a live international news audience whose expectations for drama were palpable. Adding to the crushing pressure, Croft intensified his subtle campaign of intimidation. As the judge paused, he leaned over and whispered distracting, fabricated remarks to a nearby journalist, making false claims about Anya's supposed unprofessionalism, her unproven track record, and questionable methods. He even subtly signaled his hired IT associate, a smarmy man named Kenneth, who sat inconspicuously in the front row, giving him a barely perceptible nod. Kenneth, using a slim tablet concealed under his jacket, began to quietly tap away, attempting to hack into the courtroom's public display system. His objective, to corrupt Anya's live projection if she dared to present it, ensuring her presentation, if she even managed one, would be a public disaster, further cementing his narrative of her incompetence. Croft watched her, a gleam of cruel satisfaction in his eyes, convinced she was about to crumble under the weight of his calculated onslaught. He believed he had won, that the battle was over before Anya had even fired her first true shot. The dramatic irony in the room was almost suffocating in its intensity. The hundreds of seemingly sophisticated minds in the audience, the esteemed tribunal members, the eager philanthropists, the influential journalists, and Dr. Thorne himself, watching from the client's bench, were utterly oblivious to the true multi-layered war that was about to unfold. They were listening to the swan song of an old paradigm of corporate law, completely unaware that a quiet, overlooked lawyer, armed with her crazy invention, a profound understanding of pattern recognition and digital forensics rooted in a forgotten, highly classified family legacy, held the key to transforming the very definition of legal intelligence and exposing the profound intellectual arrogance of their celebrated super lawyer. They saw only the surface, blinded by their own prejudices and preconceptions of what legal discovery and courtroom success should be. Croft, basking in the glow of the spotlights, prepared to deliver his final, triumphant pronouncement, oblivious that the meaningless scribbles of Anya's true genius, the very essence of the unsuitable life he had dismissed, were about to become the hammer that shattered his carefully constructed world and redefined the boundaries of legal ethics forever. Anya took a deep, steadying breath, her gaze fixed not on Croft, but on the silent digital anomaly that only she could truly see. The faint hum of her own discreetly activated, highly specialized device, barely audible beneath the escalating tension, was a quiet prelude to the tactical revolution she was about to unleash. She had prepared for this. She always did. The rhythmic clinking of crystal glasses and the polite murmur of conversation, once the deceptive calm before the storm, had transformed into an electrifying silence that crackled with anticipation, almost suffocating in its intensity. Julian Croft, a man radiating smug satisfaction, stood at the gleaming podium, bathed in the cool, almost ethereal glow of professional spotlights. He had just concluded his polished, self-aggrandizing remarks, praising the discipline and unwavering adherence to timeless forms of legal argument. On the immense digital display behind him, a meticulously curated slideshow of his breakthrough cases, graphs charting improved client outcomes, sterile images of his state-of-the-art virtual war room, testimonials from grateful high-paying corporations, shimmered, a visual testament to his unyielding legal dogma and formidable financial prowess. He turned to acknowledge the polite applause that rippled through the assembled luminaries, his hand already reaching for a crystal glass of water, a perfectly orchestrated moment of perceived triumph. This was the crescendo of his legal reign, the moment he believed he had definitively secured his legacy, and for a fleeting second, the sheer weight of his established dominance threatened to crush Anya, to drown out her vital truth. The air crackled with the triumph of established dogma and unquestioned authority, seeming to drown out Anya's vital, unconventional truth, her profound vision seemingly lost amidst the polished rhetoric and the pervasive acceptance of Croft's pronouncements. This was the bated breath moment for Anya. Everything seemed to conspire against her, her profound vision seemingly lost amidst the polished rhetoric and the pervasive acceptance of Croft's pronouncements. Just as Julian Croft turned, a self-satisfied smile of ultimate victory playing on his lips, Anya acted. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible digital alert, a faint shimmer on the compact, custom-built tablet hidden within the folds of her worn, unpretentious coat that confirmed the critical moment. Her real-time neural interface sensors, discreetly integrated into the courtroom's internal systems hours earlier by a sympathetic technical assistant, influenced by Clara Hayes, who had used her journalistic contacts and considerable charm, indicated the perfect ambient conditions for a live visual demonstration of the unique signatures she had found. Her voice, initially a mere tremor of deeply suppressed resolve, gained an unexpected clarity, cutting through the polite murmurs of the audience like a finely sharpened blade. "Mr. Croft," she called out, stepping forward from the periphery of the public speaking station, her simple, unadorned attire, a plain dark suit, devoid of any embellishment, a stark, almost defiant contrast to the glittering, expensive suits that filled the hall. "With all due respect, your timeless forms have a fundamental, catastrophic oversight." A collective gasp swept through the cavernous auditorium, followed by a ripple of astonished whispers. Anya's sudden, audacious interruption of such a prestigious, carefully choreographed event was itself a profound shock, a breach of decorum that was almost unheard of in these hallowed halls. Julian Croft, startled, spun around, his polished, triumphant smile instantly replaced by a scowl of pure disbelief and seething, incandescent irritation. He recognized Anya, the quiet lawyer he had so arrogantly dismissed. "Ms. Sharma," he sneered, his voice now laced with undisguised contempt, amplified by the podium microphone, echoing through the stunned silence. "I believe we settled your childish fantasies months ago. This is hardly the time or place for your bizarre disruptions. Return to your seat, immediately." Several prominent guests in the front rows turned, their faces a mixture of acute embarrassment and undisguised annoyance, urging Anya to comply with their disapproving glares. One particularly portly man in an expensive suit even hissed, his voice barely audible, "Don't you dare ruin this, madam. This is serious business. We have esteemed guests." But Anya stood her ground, unyielding, her eyes fixed on Julian Croft, a quiet, almost imperceptible fire burning deep within them. It was a fire fueled by years of dismissal, by countless moments of being overlooked, and by the urgent, undeniable necessity of her mission to expose a profound injustice. "The meaningless scribbles you've been overlooking, Mr. Croft," Anya stated, her voice clear and resonant, projecting throughout the cavernous hall with surprising power. "They weren't just theoretical. They are a fundamental flaw in your entire paradigm of unassailable legal strategy, and they're about to be exposed. Your model of true legal strategy is not just obsolete, it's ethically bankrupt." She stepped further forward, her movements deliberate and unwavering, radiating quiet conviction, towards the main stage where Croft stood. She held her prototype empathic interface device aloft, not as a weapon, but as a beacon of defiance, a quiet technological revolution in her steady hand. Croft, incandescent with a cold rage and a dawning, unwelcome tremor of professional fear that vibrated through his perfectly tailored suit, moved to block Anya, his face contorted in a desperate attempt to maintain control. "Security!" he bellowed, his voice echoing through the hall, tinged with a desperation that was uncharacteristic of his usual polished demeanor. "Remove this insane trespasser. She's a disruptor, a fraud. She's attempting to sabotage this summit. Just as a burly event security guard, alerted by Croft's shouts, began to move purposefully from the back of the room, Anya reached the edge of the stage. With a swift, almost practiced motion, honed by years of covert operations, she pulled out her hidden, compact prototype empathic interface device from a specially designed inconspicuous pocket in her coat. Simultaneously, she tapped a discreet earpiece, her voice calm, but firm as she spoke into a hidden mic connected to Clara Hayes, who was already positioned at a prearranged, discreet technical console backstage, having anticipated Anya's audacious move. Clara, prepare for emergency protocol. I'm taking manual override of the main display. Initiating live neural feed. Without missing a beat, she connected a small, inconspicuous data cable from her prototype device to a nearby, seemingly innocuous podium port, seamlessly bypassing the summit's main digital display system, which was directly connected to Croft's presentation. The elegant, self-congratulatory graphics of Croft's research vanished from the immense screen, replaced by a stark, black screen that suddenly flashed with complex, pulsing neural data streams, shimmering with an ethereal, almost alien light. Your conventional legal research, Anya stated, her voice resonating with quiet, unshakable command, her gaze sweeping across the stunned faces in the audience, presumes a linear progression of behavior and a finite definition of ethical conduct. But what if the source of true information acquisition is fractal? What if the solution to digital forensics is being overlooked from multiple unseen dimensions of neural flow, interconnectedness, and empathetic potential? With dazzling speed and precision, honed by countless hours of design and refinement, she activated her prototype, and its quiet, almost melodic hum filled a part of the hall, barely audible at first, but slowly growing in resonance. Simultaneously, she began to manipulate the intricate interface on her device. Elegant, fluid lines of real-time neural data, ambient environmental conditions, subtle physiological responses of the audience, even the unique vibrational patterns of human deception emanating from Croft's agitated state, flowed onto the immense screen behind her, overlaid with the stunning visual cryptography of her unique, resonant tactical cognition system. Swirling fractals, interconnected nodes, and self-evolving geometric patterns, each corresponding to a specific algorithmic function within her design, now actively processed the sensory conditions of the hall, responding to input from Anya's device, and even, unbeknownst to anyone else, to subtle biometric readings she was capturing from Croft himself through the podium. These scribbles, as Croft had scornfully called Anya's subtle design marks and systemic optimizations, were now demonstrably active, a living, breathing testament to her revolutionary approach. Each stroke on her device's interface was deliberate, each line of data a precise hammer blow against the conventional, less dynamic models of legal research and information perception. She filled the screen, not with complexity for complexity's sake, but with an astonishing, almost frightening clarity that laid bare the fundamental oversight at the heart of Julian Croft's vulnerable, conventionally secured legal dominance. Her data projected unprecedented human resonance, capable of generating profound empathetic and functional experiences at a fraction of the effort, and at a scale that could genuinely redefine legal intelligence, creating a visual symphony of information that was both beautiful and terrifyingly revelatory. Then came the bated breath moment, a silence so profound it was almost deafening. Julian Croft, initially scoffing, his arms crossed, his face a mask of patronizing disbelief, suddenly froze. His eyes, fixed on the rapidly scrolling data and the intricate pulsing patterns that seemed to shift and evolve organically on the screen, widened imperceptibly. He saw the sheer volume of environmental variables being processed in real time, the blinding speed of the device's calculations, the undeniable precision of the visual output projections, a direct, devastating challenge to his core legal tenets. He opened his mouth to retort, to dismiss it as a trick, a cheap parlor game, but no sound came out. The security guard, halfway to the stage, paused, his brow furrowed, caught by the sheer audacity and inexplicable technical sophistication of Anya's impromptu live demonstration. The entire room seemed to collectively hold its breath. On stage, Julian Croft was mid-sentence, his hand raised to announce the final phase of his Veritas Tech Enhancement Initiative, when the immense digital display, now completely controlled by Anya's prototype, flashed. It didn't just flicker to a new set of data. A series of angry, jagged red lines of code, clearly originating from the courtroom's internal network, began to scroll frantically across the screen, overlaid with a stark, taunting message. System compromised. Ethics depreciating. Your control is an illusion. This was not Anya's doing. This was the simultaneous, independently launched cyber attack by a clandestine group of disillusioned legal ethics activists and radical privacy researchers operating under the clandestine moniker, the Sentient Collective. They were hitting the courtroom's public records and Julian Croft's hidden corporate network precisely as Croft was speaking. Their attack exposed and amplified by Anya's accidental system override. Croft's corporate website, which had previously displayed the prestigious list of his successful projects, began to glitch violently, then plummeted into an alarming display of distorted, abstract images and flashing red alerts. A collective gasp swept through the gala, followed by an electrifying, horrified silence as the sheer scale of the digital chaos became apparent. Dame Alistair Vance, the sharp Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, her eyes wide with a mix of horror and exhilaration as she witnessed the digital unraveling, began furiously typing on her phone, her scandalous story about Croft's legal dominance shifting dramatically, catastrophically. Simultaneously, in a hidden back room, the City Hall's official IT team was in a frenzy, shouting about rapidly disappearing digital assets, unprecedented data breaches, and seemingly impenetrable firewalls. "It's a full-spectrum digital ethics attack," yelled one frantic technician, his voice cracking with panic. "Their research files are worthless. Our public trust is gone. We're losing everything." Clara Hayes, sweating and frantic at her pre-arranged console backstage, stared at a secondary screen displaying a cascade of encrypted data, instantly recognizing the unique, visual patterns of Anya's art embedded within the streaming neural data on the main display. These patterns were now changing with blinding speed, not just demonstrating her device, but inadvertently creating a digital shield, an unexpected anomaly against the Sentient Collective's malicious code. By virtue of the sheer complexity and non-linear logic of her system, she pointed frantically to Anya, who had just connected her prototype, her face grimly determined, now fully aware of the digital crossfire she had stumbled into. "It's her code. Her system is somehow disrupting their attack. You're the only one who can control this, Anya. You're stabilizing it." Just as Julian Croft's legal empire seemed irretrievably lost, as the courtroom's digital legacy plunged further into oblivion, as the Sentient Collective's attack reached its devastating peak, Anya, with a final, almost imperceptible adjustment to a sequence of geometric patterns on her device's interface, executed a masterstroke. She wasn't just demonstrating her invention, she was leveraging its underlying unique algorithm, designed for complex pattern recognition and resource optimization, to inadvertently neutralize the malicious cyber attack. The patterns on the main screen locked into place, transforming into a glowing, impenetrable fortress of visual code. On the main summit screen, the Sentient Collective's angry red message froze, then began to dissolve, replaced not just by Anya's own elegant green patterns of sustainable neural flow, but by real-time data showing the courtroom's digital assets plummeting, then inexplicably stabilizing, then slowly, agonizingly, beginning to recover, as Anya's system inadvertently isolated and neutralized the deepest, most damaging elements of the Sentient Collective's digital assault, while simultaneously exposing Croft's fundamental vulnerabilities for all to see. The hackers' attack not only halted, but their own malicious code seemed to recoil, their digital tools rendered ineffective by the sheer, unexpected elegance of Anya's nonlinear system. This unexpected, devastatingly powerful reversal simultaneously silenced the hackers, salvaged the courtroom from complete digital ruin, and stunned everyone by proving Anya's genius was not only in legal cognition, but in a profound, almost accidental understanding of complex systemic vulnerabilities and digital security, born from her deep understanding of human perception and natural patterns. Julian Croft's face contorted. The arrogance, the smug triumph, drained from him in an instant, leaving behind a pallor of utter intellectual devastation and a profound, agonizing public humiliation. His eyes, usually sharp and dismissive, glazed over as he stared at the screen, then at Anya, then back at the screen. His empire saved, yet fundamentally exposed and transformed, before his very eyes. Dame Alistair Vance's skeptical sneer dissolved into a look of astonished professional wonder, her prepared speech about conventional legal ethics completely irrelevant, superseded by a live miracle. Judge Alistair Vance, initially dismissive, watched in stunned silence, a look of dawning shame and profound regret, slowly replacing her usual haughty demeanor as she recognized her own misjudgment. The audience, initially confused by the flicker and the red alerts, erupted in a spontaneous, thunderous applause as the digital assets were confirmed, then slowly began to recover, unaware of the full digital war that had just taken place, but recognizing the restored, though now vulnerable, grandeur of the city hall, and the quiet, unassuming figure who had made it possible. For Anya, the victory was quiet, but profound. The undeniable vindication of her true genius, the revolutionary nature of her art as a technological and ethical solution, and the ultimate triumph of underestimated talent over elitism, academic dogma, and superficiality. She had proven that true vision transcends the confines of conventional thought, even when it comes from the most unexpected of sources. The thunderous applause for Anya, still ringing in the grand Supreme Court auditorium, was not merely an ovation. It was a resounding death knell for Julian Croft's unassailable facade. He stood on the stage, a visibly shaken man, his face a mask of utter humiliation amidst the wreckage of his professional pretense and the near-digital ruin of the courtroom's public safety archives. The international media, initially focused on his grand pronouncements and theatrical gestures, swiveled their cameras with a synchronized, almost predatory precision. They captured the quiet, once-dismissed lawyer who had not only unveiled a world-changing legal cognition theory, but had also, inadvertently, salvaged the city's plummeting digital legacy from a full-scale cyber attack, all while exposing Julian Croft's deep-seated prejudices, his corporate fraud, and his profound intellectual short-sightedness. The online livestream of the hearing, which had meticulously recorded every second of the dramatic sequence, was quickly going viral across all platforms, capturing every excruciating second of Julian Croft's public unraveling and Anya's quiet, yet profound triumph. Julian Croft's downfall. Julian Croft's downfall was swift, absolute, and brutally public. Within hours, clips of his dismissive comments about Anya's childish fantasies and meaningless scribbles were juxtaposed with live footage of Anya effortlessly stabilizing the courtroom's collapsing digital archives and demonstrating the revolutionary, resonant properties of her resonant tactical cognition. His pristine reputation as an infallible lawyer and a discerning corporate titan was not merely tarnished. It was shattered into a million pieces. His numerous interviews with prominent legal journals, where he had espoused on proven research models and established masters, while subtly mocking naive, unproven idealists, now served as damning testaments to his profound arrogance and intellectual blindness, fueling a firestorm of ridicule across traditional and social media platforms. The very articles that had once cemented his image as a legal savant now served as immutable evidence of his self-delusion. His carefully curated online presence, once a bastion of polished self-promotion, became a digital wasteland, inundated with scathing critiques, memes mocking his arrogance, and demands for ethical accountability. Legal foundations and corporate benefactors, unnerved by the public display of digital vulnerability, the near-catastrophic attack on the court's records, and Julian Croft's sheer arrogance that had almost cost the public safety sector its digital legacy, began discreetly canceling funding and proposed collaborations. Contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, once secured by his seemingly unblemished reputation, evaporated overnight. Major tech companies, once eager to secure his services, swiftly distanced themselves, fearful of being associated with such a public and spectacular ethical collapse. His legal firm, though digitally stabilized by Anya's accidental intervention, remained volatile, their future uncertain under Julian Croft's discredited leadership. Key partners, recognizing the existential threat to their own careers and the firm's very survival, began to quietly, then overtly, distance themselves from him. The once loyal associates, who had mimicked his aggressive style, now openly questioned his judgment and integrity, creating an irreparable rift within the organization. Bar associations and legal ethics boards, alerted by the hearing's chaos and the overwhelming public outcry, launched immediate, comprehensive investigations into his rigid legal practices, his fraudulent claims of ethical conduct, and his egregious attempts to suppress competing, unconventional legal expressions. The sheer volume of evidence against him, much of it now public thanks to the live stream and the subsequent media frenzy, left him with no room for denial or evasion. Citizen protests, fueled by a newfound appreciation for intellectual freedom and authentic legal innovation, crippled his remaining authority. Demonstrators gathered outside his office, chanting slogans about truth and transparency, their voices amplified by social media. Public sentiment overwhelmingly shifted towards supporting Anya's innovative, inclusive vision of legal practice over Julian Croft's dogmatic, exclusionary approach. Julian Croft was forced to issue a humiliating public statement, a bitter acknowledgement of Anya's pivotal, albeit unexpected, role in averting a complete digital collapse and implicitly acknowledging the transformative potential of her unique legal cognition vision. This was a bitter pill for his ingrained elitism and towering ego, a forced confession of his own intellectual inferiority to the woman he had so contemptuously dismissed. He stammered through the prepared remarks, his usual oratorical flair replaced by a palpable tremor of defeat. While the courtroom's digital infrastructure was not completely ruined, thanks to Anya's unwitting intervention, Julian Croft's personal and professional standing plummeted. He became a pariah within the very legal and corporate circles he had so desperately sought to impress and dominate. He lost all that he had valued, his high-profile projects, his lucrative sponsorships, his carefully constructed legacy, to the undeniable truth Anya had unveiled, not just about her resonant tactical cognition, but about the true cost of unchecked corporate arrogance, intellectual rigidity, and outright fraud. His pride, the very engine of his ambition, had consumed him, leaving only public shame and professional ruin in its wake. He was ultimately forced to resign from his position at his firm and effectively blacklisted from the upper echelons of the legal world, his name now synonymous with a colossal failure of vision and ethics in corporate law. The revelation of the lost empathic canine, Buddy, as part of a stolen collection of experimental animals he intended to claim as his own breakthrough, coupled with evidence of unethical animal testing practices, led to a full-scale police investigation. This likely culminated in criminal charges for scientific fraud, grand theft, and animal cruelty, ensuring his total and utter destruction. His meticulously built empire had crumbled into dust, exposed for the sham it truly was. Anya's new dawn. For Anya, the world shifted from dim lamplight to blinding brilliance. The sheer audacity, elegance, and undeniable efficacy of her resonant tactical cognition, her unique symbolic design language, and its unexpected digital capabilities immediately captivated the global legal community and intelligence organizations. Her doodles, once dismissed, were now heralded as a blueprint for a new era of cognitive science and secure data management. Dame Alistair Vance, the shrewd Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who had recognized the ancient origins of Anya's techniques and the subtle nuances of her doodles in the patterns of her designs, wasted no time. She immediately approached Anya, bypassing conventional academic and corporate hierarchies, with an offer that was both unprecedented and irresistible. She secured Anya a full directorship at the prestigious Global Institute for Advanced Legal and Intelligence Studies, an exclusive progressive research academy known for fostering visionary and avant-garde legal minds and ethicists, providing unprecedented creative control over a newly established division dedicated to interdisciplinary resonant cognition and ethical intelligence. This wasn't merely an academic opportunity. It was an invitation to transform her art into a legitimate, groundbreaking field of study, blending ancient knowledge with modern technology, giving it the platform and resources it deserved. She was no longer burdened by financial worries or the suffocating constraints of academic marginalization. Her cramped cubicle existence, her makeshift lab in her mind, and the constant struggle for basic necessities were exchanged for a spacious, state-of-the-art research studio within the Institute's secure headquarters. Its walls, once bare, were soon adorned not with textbooks, but with groundbreaking new diagrams of her evolving resonant patterns and the intricate schematics of interactive human intelligence communication installations. She was given complete intellectual freedom, an unlimited budget for research and development, and the autonomy to build a team of brilliant, like-minded, and open-minded legal strategists, digital forensic experts, and ethical hackers, eager to explore the new frontiers of human intelligence communication and perception she had unveiled through her unique design methodologies. Her former struggles transformed into a position of profound influence, intellectual leadership, and strategic impact, her quiet brilliance finally given the platform it deserved. She became a sought-after speaker, her insights published in leading journals, and her methodology adopted by forward-thinking institutions around the globe. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison Vance, the senior partner and Type B antagonist, experienced a profound public moment of realization and repentance. Witnessing Anya's undeniable genius, the ethical integrity of her work, and the full, horrifying extent of Julian Croft's malice and deceit, Mr. Vance was overcome with a deep, crushing shame. He immediately sought Anya out, not through formal channels, but with a palpable urgency. He publicly apologized to Anya, his voice cracking with genuine remorse, acknowledging his own prejudice, his myopic adherence to outdated conventions, and the unfairness he had previously contributed to, both consciously and unconsciously. His repentance was tangible and immediate. He not only offered to champion Anya's cause, but committed to allocating significant firm resources to support her initiatives. He became a vocal advocate for ethical legal practice and the urgent recognition of unconventional talent within the legal profession. He even requested a transfer to the City Hall's Public Safety Task Force, where he committed to protecting its ethical integrity and digital security with renewed purpose, vowing to dedicate the rest of his career to fostering an environment of true meritocracy and ethical responsibility. This was a profound redemption for him, demonstrating that even established figures could learn, adapt, and evolve. A shared reflection. A few weeks after the hearing, the dust having begun to settle and the frenetic media storm having calmed into a steady hum of respectful interest, Anya sat with Clara Hayes, her helper, and now a trusted investigative journalist and communications lead at the Institute, and Dame Alistair Vance, her distant relative and astute ally, in the quiet solitude of her new studio at the Global Institute for Advanced Legal and Intelligence Studies. The late afternoon sun streamed through a large skylight, dappling through the leaves of a towering fig tree in a planter, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow on the polished concrete floor. The air, unusually fresh for the city, carried the faint scent of new blueprints and fresh coffee, a comforting balm after the sterile, high-tension environment of the hearing. Outside, the city hummed, a familiar backdrop that now seemed to sing a different tune, one of hope and progress. "You know, Anya," Clara began, her voice soft, a warm, almost reverent smile on her face, reflecting the journey they had shared. "When I first saw you in that pre-trial conference, and then watched you on that stage, it's not just a paradigm shift. It's a revolution. You've redefined what's possible in legal cognition, in digital forensics, and in how we perceive intelligence itself. To think, Julian Croft dismissed it as clumsy from a misguided lawyer. The irony is almost poetic." She gestured vaguely towards the expansive window, where the city skyline shimmered, now seemingly bathed in a new light. He thought he was protecting legal tradition, but he was just limiting it, stifling its very evolution. He was so caught up in the past, he couldn't see the future walking right in front of him. Anya smiled, her gaze fixed on the intricate, ever-shifting patterns of light and shadow on the floor, patterns that mirrored the fractal beauty of her own designs. "It was always there, Clara. The numbers, the patterns in nature, the way reality organizes itself, the inherent language of the universe. People just couldn't see it because it didn't fit their predefined frameworks. Julian Croft couldn't see it because his ego and greed blinded him to any value outside his narrow, academically defined world. He saw law as something to be controlled, to be acquired, not something to be felt, to be discovered. He chose to betray our family's true legacy for his own fabricated one, a legacy of rigid control and superficial triumph." "And your courage," Dame Alistair added, her voice soft but firm, carrying the weight of her own distinguished career and her profound respect for Anya. "To stand up there, alone, against decades of entrenched corporate thought and a man who could professionally crush you. That's as profound as your genius. Many brilliant minds get silenced because they lack that courage, or the platform to be heard. It makes me wonder, Dame Alistair mused, her gaze sweeping over the cityscape, now vibrant with possibility. How many other insignificant variables, how many other primitive scribblings are waiting to be understood? How many other truths are being missed because we're too set in our ways, too quick to dismiss what doesn't fit our preconceived notions, or because it comes from a place we deem unworthy or unconventional? Your work, Anya, has opened doors that many believed were permanently sealed. Their reflective dialogue, though brief, encapsulated the intricate journey they had shared, the unexpected twists of intellectual discovery, and the profound lessons learned about the nature of truth, the dangers of academic and social dogma, and the bravery it takes to challenge established norms for the greater good. It was a testament to the power of resilience and the transformative impact of a single unwavering vision. Anya looked out at the vibrant city, a subtle shift in her posture reflecting her journey from a quiet, overlooked lawyer to a recognized intellectual leader and intelligence visionary. The world no longer seemed a place of silent struggle, but one of boundless possibility, a world brimming with hidden patterns waiting to be understood and problems waiting for compassionate solutions. The universe is always whispering its secrets, Alistair, she replied, a thoughtful glint in her eyes. And humanity is always in need of its truths. We just have to be willing to listen, even when the whispers challenge everything we think we know, even when they come from a humble drawing and a quiet, unassuming mind. My work has only just begun. Her words, simple yet profound, resonated with the quiet strength she had discovered within herself, marking not just the resolution of a conflict, but the dawn of a new era of open inquiry and boundless intellectual exploration in a world now irrevocably altered by her unique vision and her crazy invention. She had not only found her voice, but had given a voice to a new paradigm of ethical intelligence, a legacy that would echo for generations. 10 years later, the scent of polished oak, mingling with the subtle fragrance of high-grade electronics and the quiet hum of advanced servers, filled Anya Sharma's spacious, minimalist studio. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a meticulously cultivated urban garden, a verdant sanctuary amidst the city's concrete expanse. Within her studio, a large interactive display shimmered, showcasing real-time global security threats. Vibrant green where once there was vulnerability, a testament to her vision. Gone were the makeshift components and the harsh, damp concrete of forgotten alleyways. In their place, sleek, self-sustaining, resonant tactical cognition installations, the evolution of her crazy invention, were being meticulously designed and prototyped, each unit a testament to her groundbreaking work. Her once cramped existence in a corporate cubicle was a distant memory, a faint echo of a past life, replaced by a workspace that pulsed with quiet, intellectual energy and a profound sense of purpose. She still worked late into the night, driven by the same insatiable curiosity that had fueled her in solitude, yet now supported by a global team of brilliant legal strategists, perceptive digital forensic experts, and innovative ethical hackers, all eager to expand the reach and understanding of her groundbreaking human intelligence communication system. Anya Sharma, once a solitary shadow dismissed by an arrogant security guard, was now a world-renowned pioneer, her system forming the cornerstone of a new global ethical intelligence paradigm. Anya was deeply committed to paying it forward. She understood perhaps more acutely than anyone else the quiet despair of being overlooked, the burning frustration of having truth dismissed, and the profound, life-altering impact of a single act of kindness or cruelty. Leveraging her influential position as the Chief Innovations Officer of the Global Institute for Advanced Legal and Intelligence Studies, and recognized as the driving force behind the burgeoning, resonant tactical cognition movement, she established the Phoenix Initiative for Unconventional Agents. This nonprofit organization became a beacon of hope and opportunity, providing generous scholarships, state-of-the-art training facilities, and invaluable mentorship to aspiring intelligence agents, analysts, and ethical hackers. She specifically targeted individuals from marginalized communities or unconventional backgrounds, those who possessed radical, potentially paradigm-shifting ideas in digital security, data analysis, and ethical counterintelligence that might otherwise be stifled by rigid, traditional corporate or academic structures. She ensured these aspiring minds had the financial freedom, the intellectual support, and the access to cutting-edge resources that she had so desperately lacked during her own formative years. Haunted by the specter of limited means and closed doors, her foundation actively sought out students and researchers who saw connections where others saw only disparate fields, fostering an environment where daring questions and unorthodox approaches to digital forensics, bioacoustics, and technological empathy were not just tolerated, but celebrated and actively encouraged. She believed deeply that every individual, whether human, animal, or even machine, held a unique internal design language, a resonant frequency waiting to be heard, and her program sought to provide the tools and the freedom for those voices to emerge, to be understood, and to contribute to a safer, more empathetic world. She frequently gave public lectures, not just on the intricate theoretical underpinnings behind her resonant tactical cognition, but more importantly, on the profound importance of intellectual honesty, compassionate courage, and the absolute necessity of questioning established norms, no matter how intimidating the gatekeepers. Her voice, once soft and hesitant, now carried a powerful message that resonated far beyond the confines of the intelligence world, inspiring countless individuals from diverse fields, from art to engineering, from philosophy to public policy, to trust their unique visions and challenge the status quo in their own respective domains. She often spoke passionately of the hidden patterns in the universe, the fractal truths that reveal themselves when one is willing to look beyond conventional boundaries and embrace solutions from unexpected sources, from the scribbles of the dismissed to the profound insights of the overlooked. Her personal story, now a public legend, widely chronicled in books and documentaries, served as a powerful testament to her philosophy, a living embodiment of the principles she espoused. She taught that true innovation often lay in the liminal spaces between disciplines, in the intersection of seemingly unrelated ideas, and that the greatest breakthroughs often came from minds unburdened by conventional expectations. On a crisp autumn afternoon, a decade after her watershed moment, Anya stood before a packed auditorium at the prestigious Global Interspecies Summit in Geneva. This was a forum that, years prior, Julian Croft had only ever dreamed of attending, still touting his traditionalist legal dogma in small regional conferences, his star having faded into ignominy. But today, the air in the gleaming Geneva hall was vibrant with eager anticipation, not stifling academic orthodoxy. Anya was explaining a particularly complex aspect of her resonant tactical cognition technology, her fingers gliding across a vast interactive display, sketching an elegant, swirling, self-evolving equation. It was the very equation that, years ago, Julian Croft had scorned as doodling, a visual representation of the intricate algorithm that had not only brought profound empathetic experiences to digital defense worldwide, but had, inadvertently, shielded the City Hall's digital archives from utter collapse, revealing his profound oversight and securing a future for his, now very different, legal department. The symbolism was not lost on the audience. It was a potent reminder of how entrenched prejudice had once dismissed genius. She paused, turning to the diverse audience, a mix of seasoned intelligence agents, curious philanthropists eager to fund new ethical initiatives, and eager young scientists from every corner of the globe. Her eyes alight with the same quiet passion that had driven her through countless lonely nights in a damp alleyway. "This equation," she said, gesturing to the glowing symbols behind her, which pulsed with a soft internal light, like a living neural network, was once dismissed as mere clumsiness. It was considered unconventional, impractical, even crazy, because it didn't fit neatly into existing frameworks of legal strategy or technological understanding. It challenged everything we thought we knew about the very nature of non-human sentience, their communication, and their profound impact on human well-being, and even the fundamental principles of digital resilience. But the natural world, much like the digital realm, doesn't care about our preconceptions or our academic structures. It simply is. Its truths are inherent, waiting to be perceived. She smiled, a profound, knowing smile that carried the wisdom of her extraordinary journey, the scars of her past battles, and the quiet triumph of her perseverance. Our task, as innovators, as artists, as problem solvers, isn't to force the world into our existing frameworks, but to listen to its whispers, to follow the truth wherever it leads, no matter how uncomfortable or revolutionary it may seem. Sometimes, the most robust solution is the one that looks like a piece of abstract art. Sometimes, the most profound breakthrough comes from the most unexpected place, from a voice that was once utterly dismissed, from a simple drawing in the hands of a quiet, unassuming lawyer. Her words hung in the air, resonating with a deep universal truth. The equation, now widely accepted and taught as fundamental in advanced cognitive theory, computational empathy, and even interspecies communication studies worldwide, was not merely a formula. It was a living, breathing symbol of the profound shift she had brought about. It was a beacon of truth illuminating a new path for global understanding and human-animal cooperation between species. Anya stood at the nexus of a thriving intellectual and humanitarian community, no longer confined to the shadows of an alley, but a guiding light for the future of ethical intelligence, biotechnology, human ingenuity, and global well-being. She had not only disproven a dismissive security guard's prejudiced judgment, but, in doing so, had opened up an entirely new dimension of human potential, proving that even the most quiet and unassuming voices, armed with truth and unwavering conviction, can echo with the loudest, most world-changing impact, perpetually seeking the next uncharted frontier of knowledge and compassion. Her art had indeed secured a fortune, not just for herself, but for a world in desperate need of a second spring, a renewal of vision and spirit. Paying it forward, the Phoenix Initiative. The Phoenix Initiative for Unconventional Agents stood as Anya's most enduring legacy, a living testament to her conviction that true genius often blossomed in the unlikeliest of soils. Housed in a beautifully renovated, sprawling campus on the outskirts of the city, once a derelict industrial complex, it was now a vibrant hub of interdisciplinary research and ethical innovation. The campus pulsed with the energy of young, eager minds, diverse in their backgrounds but united by a shared passion for truth and an unconventional approach to problem solving. Anya personally oversaw the curriculum, emphasizing not just the technical mastery of her resonant tactical cognition, but also, and more importantly, the profound human connection inherent in their work. She taught classes herself, her presence in the lecture halls a rare and cherished event, captivating students with her quiet intensity and the depth of her insights. She spoke of the importance of integrity, resilience, and compassion in protecting global security, constantly reminding them that their power came not from brute force or digital aggression, but from understanding, empathy, and the ability to see the unseen. The initiative offered rigorous training programs that merged cutting-edge digital forensics with esoteric studies in human psychology, behavioral economics, and even ancient philosophy, pushing the boundaries of what was traditionally considered intelligence. Students learned to detect anomalies not just in data sets but in human interaction, to understand the subtle signatures of intent and deception, and to build digital defenses that resonated with natural patterns of resilience, making them almost impossible to breach. Anya ensured the initiative provided full scholarships, covering tuition, living expenses, and even personal development grants, removing all financial barriers for talented individuals who might otherwise be excluded. She cultivated a mentorship program that paired seasoned experts with aspiring agents, fostering a supportive community where ideas flowed freely and unconventional approaches were celebrated. Her struggle and triumph served as a constant inspiration, a living testament to the belief that true cognitive genius came from passion and authenticity, not from privilege or superficial accolades, and that talent could emerge from the most unexpected places. She consistently reiterated that their mission was not just about thwarting threats, but about understanding the root causes of conflict, about bridging divides, and about building a safer, more connected world through ethical intelligence. She saw each student as a potential phoenix, capable of rising from the ashes of past challenges to illuminate a new path. Clara Hayes, now a prominent figure within the Phoenix Initiative and a globally recognized investigative journalist, often appeared at these events. Her sharp insights and investigative prowess complemented Anya's quiet leadership, providing a vital bridge between the theoretical and the practical, between the lab and the field. Clara's groundbreaking articles often highlighted the transformative work being done at the initiative, bringing public awareness to the profound capacity of individuals for insight and ethical action, and their crucial role in healing the global community. She documented the stories of students who, like Anya, had once been dismissed, but who now, armed with the tools and mentorship from the Phoenix Initiative, were making tangible differences in areas ranging from cybercrime prevention to humanitarian aid deployment. The epilogue closes with a beautiful, symbolic image, encapsulating the story's themes of hidden potential, intellectual transformation, and the enduring power of genuine connection and familial redemption. Anya stood in the main atrium of the Phoenix Initiative's newly refurbished training facility, now a vibrant, bustling hub for interdisciplinary intelligence research and ethical hacking. The facility, once a place of sterile servers and cold technology, was now infused with life, with murals depicting intricate fractal patterns adorning the walls and the soft murmur of collaborative discussion echoing through its halls. She held a small, unmarked compass in her hand, its brass casing worn smooth by countless journeys, its subtle weight a comforting reminder of her past. It was a tangible link to the Phoenix she once was, a silent witness to her extraordinary transformations. She watched a young agent, a brilliant, unassuming woman from a remote village, meticulously learning to analyze complex data patterns and identify digital vulnerabilities using Anya's methods. The student's fingers danced across a holographic interface, replicating Anya's fluid movements, revealing a hidden malicious code within a simulated global cyber threat and neutralizing it with startling efficiency. Anya saw a reflection of her younger self in the student's focused eyes, a quiet determination that promised a bright future. The facility, vibrant with the energy of aspiring minds, was now a symbol of living intelligence, a vibrant testament to the future she forged, a future where human ingenuity and ethical action were celebrated by all, where knowledge was shared freely, and where compassion guided discovery. It was a future that perpetually provided a second spring for forgotten ideas and unrecognized talents, proving that the most profound contributions often came from the most unexpected places, from those who dared to see the world differently. Anya had not just secured a fortune, she had secured a legacy of hope, a beacon for all who had once been overlooked, a silent promise of a world where every voice, no matter how quiet, could resonate with truth and impact. Her art had truly changed the world. 10 years later, the scent of polished oak mingling with the subtle fragrance of high-grade electronics and the quiet hum of advanced servers filled Anya Sharma's spacious, minimalist studio. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a meticulously cultivated urban garden, a verdant sanctuary amidst the city's concrete expanse. Within her studio, a large, interactive display shimmered, showcasing real-time global security threats. Vibrant green where once there was vulnerability, a testament to her vision. Gone were the makeshift components and the harsh, damp concrete of forgotten alleyways. In their place, sleek, self-sustaining, resonant tactical cognition installations, the evolution of her crazy invention, were being meticulously designed and prototyped, each unit a testament to her groundbreaking work. Her once cramped existence in a corporate cubicle was a distant memory, a faint echo of a past life, replaced by a workspace that pulsed with quiet intellectual energy and a profound sense of purpose. She still worked late into the night, driven by the same insatiable curiosity that had fueled her in solitude, yet now supported by a global team of brilliant legal strategists, perceptive digital forensic experts, and innovative ethical hackers, all eager to expand the reach and understanding of her groundbreaking human intelligence communication system. Anya Sharma, once a solitary shadow dismissed by an arrogant security guard, was now a world-renowned pioneer, her system forming the cornerstone of a new global ethical intelligence paradigm. Anya was deeply committed to paying it forward. She understood, perhaps more acutely than anyone else, the quiet despair of being overlooked, the burning frustration of having truth dismissed, and the profound, life-altering impact of a single act of kindness or cruelty. Leveraging her influential position as the Chief Innovations Officer of the Global Institute for Advanced Legal and Intelligence Studies, and recognized as the driving force behind the burgeoning resonant tactical cognition movement, she established the Phoenix Initiative for Unconventional Agents. This nonprofit organization became a beacon of hope and opportunity, providing generous scholarships, state-of-the-art training facilities, and invaluable mentorship to aspiring intelligence agents, analysts, and ethical hackers. She specifically targeted individuals from marginalized communities or unconventional backgrounds, those who possessed radical, potentially paradigm-shifting ideas in digital security, data analysis, and ethical counterintelligence that might otherwise be stifled by rigid, traditional corporate or academic structures. She ensured these aspiring minds had the financial freedom, the intellectual support, and the access to cutting-edge resources that she had so desperately lacked during her own formative years, haunted by the specter of limited means and closed doors. Her foundation actively sought out students and researchers who saw connections where others saw only disparate fields, fostering an environment where daring questions and unorthodox approaches to digital forensics, bioacoustics, and technological empathy were not just tolerated, but celebrated and actively encouraged. She believed deeply that every individual, whether human, animal, or even machine, held a unique internal design language, a resonant frequency waiting to be heard, and her program sought to provide the tools and the freedom for those voices to emerge, to be understood, and to contribute to a safer, more empathetic world. She frequently gave public lectures, not just on the intricate theoretical underpinnings behind her resonant tactical cognition, but more importantly, on the profound importance of intellectual honesty, compassionate courage, and the absolute necessity of questioning established norms, no matter how intimidating the gatekeepers. Her voice, once soft and hesitant, now carried a powerful message that resonated far beyond the confines of the intelligence world, inspiring countless individuals from diverse fields, from art to engineering, from philosophy to public policy, to trust their unique visions and challenge the status quo in their own respective domains. She often spoke passionately of the hidden patterns in the universe, the fractal truths that reveal themselves when one is willing to look beyond conventional boundaries and embrace solutions from unexpected sources, from the scribbles of the dismissed to the profound insights of the overlooked. Her personal story, now a public legend, widely chronicled in books and documentaries, served as a powerful testament to her philosophy, a living embodiment of the principles she espoused. She taught that true innovation often lay in the liminal spaces between disciplines, in the intersection of seemingly unrelated ideas, and that the greatest breakthroughs often came from minds unburdened by conventional expectations. On a crisp autumn afternoon, a decade after her watershed moment, Anya stood before a packed auditorium at the prestigious Global Interspecies Summit in Geneva. This was a forum that, years prior, Julian Croft had only ever dreamed of attending, still touting his traditionalist legal dogma in small regional conferences, his star having faded into ignominy. But today, the air in the gleaming Geneva hall was vibrant with eager anticipation, not stifling academic orthodoxy. Anya was explaining a particularly complex aspect of her resonant tactical cognition technology, her fingers gliding across a vast, interactive display, sketching an elegant, swirling, self-evolving equation. It was the very equation that years ago Julian Croft had scorned as doodling, a visual representation of the intricate algorithm that had not only brought profound empathetic experiences to digital defense worldwide, but had, inadvertently, shielded the City Hall's digital archives from utter collapse, revealing his profound oversight and securing a future for his, now very different, legal department. The symbolism was not lost on the audience. It was a potent reminder of how entrenched prejudice had once dismissed genius. She paused, turning to the diverse audience, a mix of seasoned intelligence agents, curious philanthropists eager to fund new ethical initiatives, and eager young scientists from every corner of the globe. Her eyes alight with the same quiet passion that had driven her through countless lonely nights in a damp alleyway. This equation, she said, gesturing to the glowing symbols behind her, which pulsed with a soft internal light, like a living neural network, was once dismissed as mere clumsiness. It was considered unconventional, impractical, even crazy, because it didn't fit neatly into existing frameworks of legal strategy or technological understanding. It challenged everything we thought we knew about the very nature of non-human sentience, their communication, and their profound impact on human well-being, and even the fundamental principles of digital resilience. But the natural world, much like the digital realm, doesn't care about our preconceptions or our academic structures. It simply is. Its truths are inherent, waiting to be perceived. She smiled, a profound, knowing smile that carried the wisdom of her extraordinary journey, the scars of her past battles, and the quiet triumph of her perseverance. Our task as innovators, as artists, as problem solvers, isn't to force the world into our existing frameworks, but to listen to its whispers, to follow the truth wherever it leads, no matter how uncomfortable or revolutionary it may seem. Sometimes the most robust solution is the one that looks like a piece of abstract art. Sometimes the most profound breakthrough comes from the most unexpected place, from a voice that was once utterly dismissed, from a simple drawing in the hands of a quiet, unassuming lawyer. Her words hung in the air, resonating with a deep, universal truth. The equation, now widely accepted and taught as fundamental in advanced cognitive theory, computational empathy, and even interspecies communication studies worldwide, was not merely a formula. It was a living, breathing symbol of the profound shift she had brought about. It was a beacon of truth illuminating a new path for global understanding and human-animal cooperation between species. Anya stood at the nexus of a thriving intellectual and humanitarian community, no longer confined to the shadows of an alley, but a guiding light for the future of ethical intelligence, biotechnology, human ingenuity, and global well-being. She had not only disproven a dismissive security guard's prejudiced judgment, but in doing so, had opened up an entirely new dimension of human potential, proving that even the most quiet and unassuming voices, armed with truth and unwavering conviction, can echo with the loudest, most world-changing impact, perpetually seeking the next uncharted frontier of knowledge and compassion. Her art had indeed secured a fortune, not just for herself, but for a world in desperate need of a second spring, a renewal of vision and spirit. Paying it forward. The Phoenix Initiative. The Phoenix Initiative for Unconventional Agents stood as Anya's most enduring legacy, a living testament to her conviction that true genius often blossomed in the unlikeliest of soils. Housed in a beautifully renovated, sprawling campus on the outskirts of the city, once a derelict industrial complex, it was now a vibrant hub of interdisciplinary research and ethical innovation. The campus pulsed with the energy of young, eager minds, diverse in their backgrounds but united by a shared passion for truth and an unconventional approach to problem solving. Anya personally oversaw the curriculum, emphasizing not just the technical mastery of her resonant tactical cognition, but also, and more importantly, the profound human connection inherent in their work. She taught classes herself, her presence in the lecture halls a rare and cherished event, captivating students with her quiet intensity and the depth of her insights. She spoke of the importance of integrity, resilience, and compassion in protecting global security, constantly reminding them that their power came not from brute force or digital aggression, but from understanding, empathy, and the ability to see the unseen. The initiative offered rigorous training programs that merged cutting-edge digital forensics with esoteric studies in human psychology, behavioral economics, and even ancient philosophy, pushing the boundaries of what was traditionally considered intelligence. Students learned to detect anomalies not just in datasets, but in human interaction, to understand the subtle signatures of intent and deception, and to build digital defenses that resonated with natural patterns of resilience, making them almost impossible to breach. Anya ensured the initiative provided full scholarships, covering tuition, living expenses, and even personal development grants, removing all financial barriers for talented individuals who might otherwise be excluded. She cultivated a mentorship program that paired seasoned experts with aspiring agents, fostering a supportive community where ideas flowed freely and unconventional approaches were celebrated. Her struggle and triumph served as a constant inspiration, a living testament to the belief that true cognitive genius came from passion and authenticity, not from privilege or superficial accolades, and that talent could emerge from the most unexpected places. She consistently reiterated that their mission was not just about thwarting threats, but about understanding the root causes of conflict, about bridging divides, and about building a safer, more connected world through ethical intelligence. She saw each student as a potential phoenix, capable of rising from the ashes of past challenges to illuminate a new path. Clara Hayes, now a prominent figure within the Phoenix Initiative and a globally recognized investigative journalist, often appeared at these events. Her sharp insights and investigative prowess complemented Anya's quiet leadership, providing a vital bridge between the theoretical and the practical, between the lab and the field. Clara's groundbreaking articles often highlighted the transformative work being done at the initiative, bringing public awareness to the profound capacity of individuals for insight and ethical action, and their crucial role in healing the global community. She documented the stories of students who, like Anya, had once been dismissed, but who now, armed with the tools and mentorship from the Phoenix Initiative, were making tangible differences in areas ranging from cybercrime prevention to humanitarian aid deployment. The epilogue closes with a beautiful symbolic image, encapsulating the story's themes of hidden potential, intellectual transformation, and the enduring power of genuine connection and familial redemption. Anya stood in the main atrium of the Phoenix Initiative's newly refurbished training facility, now a vibrant, bustling hub for interdisciplinary intelligence research and ethical hacking. The facility, once a place of sterile servers and cold technology, was now infused with life, with murals depicting intricate fractal patterns adorning the walls and the soft murmur of collaborative discussion echoing through its halls. She held a small, unmarked compass in her hand, its brass casing worn smooth by countless journeys, its subtle weight a comforting reminder of her past. It was a tangible link to the phoenix she once was, a silent witness to her extraordinary transformations. She watched a young agent, a brilliant, unassuming woman from a remote village, meticulously learning to analyze complex data patterns and identify digital vulnerabilities using Anya's methods. The student's fingers danced across a holographic interface, replicating Anya's fluid movements, revealing a hidden malicious code within a simulated global cyber threat and neutralizing it with startling efficiency. Anya saw a reflection of her younger self in the student's focused eyes, a quiet determination that promised a bright future. The facility, vibrant with the energy of aspiring minds, was now a symbol of living intelligence, a vibrant testament to the future she forged. A future where human ingenuity and ethical action were celebrated by all, where knowledge was shared freely, and where compassion guided discovery. It was a future that perpetually provided a second spring for forgotten ideas and unrecognized talents, proving that the most profound contributions often came from the most unexpected places, from those who dared to see the world differently. Her art had truly changed the world. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss our upcoming narratives that delve into the profound human spirit and the power of unseen heroes. Thank you for joining us on this journey.